Welcome to our spring webinar for chapter advisors. Thank you so much for being here today to discuss Phi Sigma Pi's officer transitions. I'm Danielle Reidenbach, Director of Leadership Advancement, and I'm the chapter advisor contact for Phi Sigma Pi. I'm also in charge of Phi Sigma Pi's award-winning certification program called Leadership in Action. Today we are going to go step by step through Phi Sigma Pi's 4-week officer transition program. Just to note, this webinar will be sent to you in an email this afternoon for you to watch at your own pace if you are interested. To start today's webinar, let's go to a poll question. The poll question is, are you already included in the officer transition process? Great, it looks like most of you said no, so this will be a great webinar for you today. Officer transitions are vital to the future of the chapter. Without transitions, responsibilities and duties get lost and members are stuck at square one to try and figure their positions out. Each chapter has a different election schedule. Some chapters hold elections in the fall, while some in the spring, and even some chapters hold different position elections in the fall and in the spring. Ideally, officers and chairs should all be elected to allow at least 4 weeks of shadowing and one-on-one training for the transition. So let's break down the 4-week officer transition plan. We'll start with prior to elections. Prior to elections, there are some steps we would like our outgoing officers and chairs to take. 1, prepare materials. Each officer and chair should have a binder, zip drive, Google Drive folder, or however they want to stay organized to complete and prepare to pass on to the next officer and chair. I'll talk about what should be in that binder next. 2, encourage nominations for officer and chair positions. And 3, answer questions, share experiences, and explain the duties of the position. Each officer or chair should make themselves available for members interested in running for their position. Each officer and chair binder, or however they would like to keep the information, should have the following. Officer Chair Handbook. These handbooks are available in the Resource Center of the National website. Each handbook highlights and describes the specific duties of the officer chair positions as stated in the National Constitution and the Phi Sigma Pi National Operating Policy. 2, list of responsibilities. This list should go beyond what is outlined in the National Constitution and chapter bylaws. 3, Form 110 report, or the end of the term report. This report gives a description of the goals, events, and suggestions of the previous officer chair. It is a useful document to refer to when deciding on continuing a particular event or activity the chapter has done in the past. When the officer chair writes their Form 110 report, they should put a copy of it in the binder. 4, list of ongoing activities. The committee should brainstorm to add to this list at least once a term. Contact information. This list should include all people, departments, offices, businesses, organizations, etc. related to the position. 6, goals. This should include information about what past committees and officers were working toward and what have been accomplished as a result. This should also include anything discussed with their chapter consultant. 7, chapter calendar. It's important for the chapter to collectively make a calendar at the end of each semester or quarter for the next term. Event planning and evaluation sheets. An example of this can be found in the Vice President's Handbook in the Resource Center on the National website. It is suggested that the officer chair holds on to all planning and evaluation sheets for 1 full year following the term that they were written. 9, old files. If the position has any files that are used term after term, get them from the old officer chair to pass on to the next officer and chair. An FAQ sheet. Officers should write the FAQ sheets individually. Chairs should work with the entire committee to write one. Brainstorm any and all questions you had to ask yourself during the term. Governing documents. These files help officers' chairs to understand their position as well as to clarify why certain events and activities are organized in the way that they are. These documents should include Phi Sigma Pi's National Constitution, the National Operating Policy, Chapter Bylaws, Chapter Operating Policy, and the Chapter Risk Management Manual. And the last thing should be a letter. This should be a personal letter from the outgoing officer chair to the future officer chair. This letter is meant to wish your successor luck and welcome them to contact the outgoing officer chair with any questions, and also to add their contact information to that letter. So now we're on to week 1 of the 4-week officer chair transition program. During week 1, the chapter should conduct officer and chair elections. The outgoing and incoming officers' chairs should arrange times for one-on-one meetings. We ask that members prepare for this meeting by developing a list of questions, tips, and suggestions. 3, they should invite incoming officers to executive board meetings held during week 2. If incoming officers can't make this meeting, the regular exec board should find an alternative time to hold the meeting. And 4, incoming and outgoing presidents should arrange meetings with the chapter and alumni advisors in the upcoming 2 weeks. This should be done to introduce the new president to the advisors. Week 2. During this time, the new officers and chairs should hold one-on-one meetings. The old officer should pass all position-related materials, including the binder, to the new officer. The two should discuss goals, ideas, tips, suggestions, and questions for the upcoming year. The chapter should hold combined incoming and outgoing executive board meetings. During this meeting, the outgoing officers should conduct business as regular. This is also a time to discuss how to run a chapter and e-board meeting. Together, the two should discuss the process for developing a weekly agenda. During the chapter meeting, the outgoing officers and chairs should sit with the new officers and chairs. The new position holder should pay attention to the role in the report of the outgoing position holder. And the incoming and outgoing president should meet with the chapter advisors to discuss the relationship between the advisor and the chapter, university procedures pertaining to student organizations, officer goals, and exchange contact information. Now on to week 3. The one-on-one meetings should continue if needed. If the position requires a signature authority, for instance, the treasurer, they should change signatures and information on all accounts. 3, they should hold combined e-board meetings. The officers should conduct the business together, discuss chapter goals, and answer any outstanding questions. The outgoing and incoming position holder should run the chapter meeting together by sitting together and tag teaming reports. And the two should also run committee meetings together. Each chair should have a committee to help them plan events. The last week is here, and the following should take place. Incoming officers hold their own e-board meetings. During this meeting, they should discuss upcoming goals for themselves in the chapter, review chapter and e-board business, and prepare the agenda for the upcoming chapter meeting. They should complete the officer installation ceremony. This ceremony is found in the ritual books supplied to the chapter from the national office. Incoming officers should run the chapter meeting, and incoming officers should run the committee meetings as well. And that is the 4-week process that we suggest to our chapters. Another poll question. Does the incoming and outgoing president set up time to meet with you together, being the advisor? Looks like the answers are in. And the biggest one, everyone said no, but this is a great idea. It really is. This really starts the communication between you and the president to kind of get them also ready for the upcoming year, which they might not be thinking about. They might just be thinking about the end and that summer is coming. So this is a great way to get things started in the right direction. After elections and officer transitions, some chapters hold officer trainings or officer retreats. A great element to add to that is Leadership in Action modules. Leadership in Action is Phi Sigma Pi's certification program based on soft skills. Members complete modules, or in other words, courses, to earn points to earn their certification. There are several modules that are great for trainings and retreats that you can share with your chapter, and here are just some to mention. Just a reminder, I'm going to be sending this out in an email, so you don't have to jot them down. Art of Effective Communication, Exploring Your Communication Style. This module identifies communication styles within the participants so that officers know how to communicate and relate to one another. The next one is first-time officer, who's the boss. This module identifies management strengths and gives suggestions on how to improve as an officer. The next one is the power of innovation when it comes to change. With new leaders comes change, and it's important to know how to lead through the change. And the last one is strategic planning, the power of a shared vision. This module walks our members through a SWOT analysis to help them come up with chapter goals for the upcoming term. You can find a full list of modules and course objectives at phisigmapi.org/modules. On the Phi Sigma Pi website, we have a resource center at phisigmapi.org/resources. If your chapter members ever ask you a Phi Sigma Pi question, you can point them in this direction. It is filled with dozens of documents with information from planning events, officer position responsibilities, including those handbooks that we talked about earlier, information on our national philanthropy, HOBI, and more. One of the resources in the advisor folder is the chapter advisor manual. I also have this manual linked to this webinar where you can download it during or after the webinar. So those are the steps that we encourage our members to take in a nutshell and how you can help our chapter succeed. Now we would like to take any questions you may have during the Phi Sigma Pi's officer transition process. As we wait for them, we are going to run through some announcements, deadlines, and other happenings going on in Phi Sigma Pi world that you can participate in or update your chapters about. Here are upcoming due dates for our members. All of our due dates can be found at phisigmapi.org/due dates. You can see the first two are for quarter schools, April 14th and April 30th, and then the last one is for semester and quarter schools. So they have two different due dates, May 15th for semester schools and June 15th for quarter schools. And that's our end of the term report, or the Form 110. Applications for the Tod Scholarship for undergraduate students are due April 15th. Our members can go to phisigmapi.org/scholarships to apply. And this was last year's recipient, Finian Saylor from the Temple University, our Alpha Lambda chapter. We're looking to expand to the following schools. If you know of anyone that works or attends those schools, or any other school that doesn't already have a Phi Sigma Pi chapter and wants to become a founding member, you can email their contact information to expansion@phisigmapi.org. At the 2017 National Convention, the QOBrien Youth Leadership Organization became our national philanthropy. You can learn more about HOBI and how your chapter can get involved at phisigmapi.org/service. This Wednesday at noon Eastern, we will be holding a webinar about how to have tough conversations about diversity and race. This is part of the Leadership in Action program. You can register at phisigmapi.org/lunch and learn. Our 2018 National Convention will be in Phoenix, Arizona from July 25th to the 29th. We would love to see you there if you're interested. It is also a requirement that every chapter send at least one member to National Convention. And that is all of our quick updates. Doesn't look like we have any questions, but I can wait a couple more minutes before I close the webinar. So if you have any questions about our 4-week process, please type it in the box. But it's basically pretty simple, and I hope that you found that this webinar kind of broke it down week by week. And I hope that you set up meetings with the outgoing presidents and incoming presidents so that you can really start the next term off on a great start. So I will wait a couple of more minutes, but if there's no further questions, I just want to tell you about our next faculty advisor benefit that you can participate in. The next opportunity for our chapter advisors to get together will be on Thursday, April 12th at noon Eastern. That is when I will be holding a go-to meeting call where our advisors can talk about anything from questions with Phi Sigma Pi to topics in higher ed. You can join through a link in an email that will be sent to you on April 1st, or find the link at phisigmapi.org/faculty advisors. If you have any questions, please email me at advisors@phisigmapi.org, and we'll chat again in April. If you don't have any more questions, and if you have questions about the officer transitions, you can also email advisors@phisigmapi.org, and I'll be happy to answer them. So yeah, we'll chat again in April, and until then, lead on.